What's going on, everybody? This is Jacob Viral on my second channel, Jacob Viral 2. Today I'm going to be showing you how I find box rise as well as my different impedances, how they're changing depending on different frequencies. So I'm going to show you the equipment that I use as well as how I find the different ohm impedances and different box rises. So before I start, I just want to say that a lot of people would normally say box rise is a really confusing topic because every system varies, every frequency varies, every power rating varies, as well as, hey, if you're wired at a certain impedance, will also change this result. So whether you go half ohm, quarter ohm, a third of an ohm, I've even had people do 2 ohm, 3 ohm, 5 ohm, 8 ohm, etc. So there's a lot of different variances in it, but the same concept applies for how I find my box rise, or as I should say, impedance rise, if that's another way I see people would terminology that they would call it. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and show you. I keep my volume level low when I do this, and I'm going to go show you the equipment. So I make sure my bass knob's up. So I got my volume at 20. I normally can go up to around 55 for the frequency. So let me go ahead and get this started. Get to the back in the amp. All right. So the equipment that I'm going to be using for this is a multimeter. So normally like a $10 to $15 multimeter works. I use a frequency response, so I use Bluetooth on an iPod. You can do it on USB. Some people do USB. Some people use different tunings as well. They even have apps now that you can do Bluetooth with a frequency response. So that's another one. And then I'm going to have a clamp meter. So clamp meters are normally between $30 and like $200-300 depending on what quality you have. I think this one was $60. So I have less than $100 in equipment that I'll need to do this. So really depends on what your input setting is going to be. So like I'm using Bluetooth on an iPod. But all right, so let's go ahead and get started. So what you're going to want to do is I have my volume up there on my stereo at 20, and you don't need to have any form of high volume for this. A lot of people would actually say it's good to test at low volume first, and if you want to find your true output at a certain level, then that's when you're going to go into your higher level of frequency volume level. So you want to start with low volume and work your way up from there. So find out with low volume how it looks first. So I'm going to go ahead, and this is the first time I've done this with my system as well. So let me go ahead and turn on my clamp meter real quick. Make sure it's on. There we go. All right. So you want to make sure your clamp meter is at amps, because you're going to be measuring amps on your clamp meter, and then you're going to be measuring volts on your multimeter. So we'll be measuring volts and amps, and then you're going to divide the two to find out what your power rating is plus your box rise. But today I'm going to be finding my box rise. So what I do is I'm going to be, the positive speaker wires in my bottom two. So I'm going to be clamping onto this is a monoblock class D, so for measuring box rise. So you want to have it close to the input of your positive terminals. That's the clamp. And then I'm going to have the multimeter. You want to have your negative and your positive. So I'm going to use my positive on my positive speaker wire and my negative on my negative speaker wire. It's not going to matter which one since they're interconnected. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. What I normally do here, a lot of people would say it doesn't really matter, but what I'm going to do is actually run my speaker wire real quick through with the terminal, or the connector point of the actual multimeter. Sorry, had to think about that for a second. So I got my multimeter I'm putting in my positive on that one, and then my negative here through the speaker wire, just like that. So that way I know it's for sure through the wire. And they're looped, so it doesn't matter if I do both. But when I do the clamp, I want to have it on both. So keep in mind, you can use this concept. This concept you can do for every size system, any size amplifier on monoblocks. It's the easiest, simple concept that I've always used, and it works out really well. Somebody's about to drive by, it sounds like. All right, so let's see real quick. So I got this. Let me go ahead and do my frequency now. So I am going to be doing let's just start with, let's say 20 hertz or 23 hertz. I go down to 23. All right. So that should be connected. You can hardly tell it's on, but it's on. Yep. So there's your box rise at low volume. So I'm rising 2x. How do I know? It's literally 0.4 and 0.2. So I'll show you real quick, simple math, how I found that. So I'll pull up, there we go. Pull up the calculator real quick. So we'll do 0.4 divided by 0.2. So that's 2x rise, going from 0.4 ohm, or 0.4 to 0.2. So that's 2 ohm, or 2 rise. So right now we're at half ohm, and it rose up to 1 ohm at that frequency. So it really just depends on the frequency that you test. So now I'm gonna do, let's say 43 hertz. So 43 hertz, we'll see what it does. 3 and 6. So 2x rise again. All right, we'll do 46. Normally your frequency peak, near your peak, you have more rise. So see, 0.1 and 0.6, up 0.2 almost, 0.1. So real quick, we'll do that one. 0.6 and 0.1, sounds like 3x. So 0.6 divided by 0.1 equals 6x rise. So I literally had 5 to 6x rise on that frequency. Keep in mind, this is low volume, but I'm showing you the concept. I could turn up the stereo a little louder and the frequency rise would change slightly, but not to an extreme level. Now let's do another one. Let's go 59 hertz real quick. So that's 0.6 and 0.6. So that's 1x rise. So that means I'm only rising 1x at 59 hertz. So my higher frequencies, I'm hardly rising at all. Now let me go down to 39 hertz. Let's see how that does. So that's 0.5 and 0.5, 0.6. So 39 hertz, it's about the same, 1x rise. All right, 30 hertz. Lower frequencies normally will have higher rise as well. It really just depends on the system. All right, so that's 0.3 to 0.1, so 3x rise. So you guys get the concept. So just a clamp meter measuring amps, clamp meter on your positive terminals of your input, positive input speaker wire of your sub or subwoofer, same concept. And then you're gonna have your multimeter measuring your voltage output on your positive and your negative of your amplifier. So whether you have a single 400 watt amplifier or you have a 15,000 watt amplifier or even 10 amplifiers, you can measure this concept the same with every system. So remember, start with low volume. I did really low volume because I'm actually parked in the neighborhood, so I don't want, you can hear the dog barking, sorry, but you don't want the your impedance to be too high, and it'll get your coils hot real fast if you end up doing your testing at a high volume level. So always start at a low volume level whenever you do your testing. So that's all I got for this video. Stay tuned for more videos. I hope this taught something to you guys. If I said something wrong or I'm not perfect, remember, so there's always things for me to learn as well. So until next time, I'll see you on the next video. Check the ball out.